Good morning, good day, good evening. I am, as always, your host, Brodie Robertson. And about an hour ago, I finished a 4-hour live stream. So I don't know how long this podcast is going to go for. We'll see, though. So today, I'm doing a solo episode. If you're watching the video version, you can probably realize that by the fact that, there's not a second person here. But, yeah, we're doing a solo episode today. And I don't really know what to really talk about. I've got a big list of topics here, so we'll see where it really goes. God, I didn't particularly want to be doing a podcast the same day as this live stream because, well, if you don't know, I've sort of compressed my schedule. So now, Previously, I had my live streams go until Sunday. So my first live stream would be on the Friday, then I'd do one on Saturday, and then Sunday. The problem with this is that leads me to working 7 days a week. And 7 days a week is not fun. Now, maybe someone can do it. Maybe someone would enjoy it. Even though I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I want to have a day off at some point to do anything else. Watch anime, go outside. That's pretty much all I do, to be honest. Maybe meet up with some friends and go watch a movie. I will get into the movie I went and saw very recently in a bit. Not very good movie. But not having a day off at all is just not good for your health. I did it for a year or so, and I managed to make it work. And while I was at uni, I effectively did it for 4 years anyway. But if I'm going to be doing this YouTube stuff more long term, I sort of want to make it so it's actually relatively sustainable. And the best way to do that is let yourself have some me time, I guess. So yeah, that ends up putting one of my live streams on the Thursday. Thursday is the day that I typically do actually record the podcast. If I'm doing a solo one. If it's a guest one, it doesn't really matter what day it ends up being on. I work it out as the guest, sort of oh yeah, I can do it on Tuesday, I can do it on Wednesday, so on and so forth. I sort of work it out based on the guest time, because I like to assume that whoever I have on the podcast is usually going to be busier than I am. So I think that's just a sort of a... That's really... I'm going to get some WD-40, to be honest. I think it's just safer to assume, and nicer to assume, that whoever's coming on, I should plan stuff around them just to make sure they're not being inconvenienced, because I'm the one asking them for a favor, so I'm the one who should be making the sacrifices. Maybe some people don't agree with that way of handling it, but I think that's the way that I like to do it, and I think it works. It works thus far. But anyway, so this means that I have to do, unless I want to do the podcast on Saturday, because I'm not doing it on Sunday, definitely not doing that. Unless I want to do it on Saturday, where I do the live stream at night, and I don't work my day job on Saturdays. I refuse to work weekends. I don't care what they have to say about it. I've told them a bunch of times, call me on a weekend, I'm not going to respond. Roast me on a weekend, I'm just not going to show up. Because I'm not working weekends. Anyway, so the problem I have today, it wouldn't be a big issue doing the podcast and the live stream today, because if I wasn't working on Thursday, I would just do the podcast at night, or I'd do the live stream at night, and I'd give a fairly big gap between them. In this case, though, I can't actually do that, because in about 2 hours and 10 minutes or so, I got to start preparing for work. So it gives... Oh, I spilled my tea. There's plenty of buffer time there, so I can still it's not like I'm rushing out of the door, but I want to go have dinner and stuff like that before I go to work, because I don't particularly want to go to work without eating. I've done that before. I don't want to do that again. Back when I was at McDonald's, I would do that a lot. So you combine having a shit job like being at McDonald's with being hungry and just angry because you're hungry. It's not a good combination for a job like that. I'm not at McDonald's now. I haven't worked there in 2.5 years? Something like that. Maybe 3 years at this point. Not long enough. I wish it would be longer. I wish I had just forgotten that I'd ever worked at McDonald's and just ignore that part of my life, pretend like it just never existed. Because, oh god. I don't know. I don't know if I've talked too much about my experience at McDonald's. I think it's an experience that you should have. Not just McDonald's. I'm not shilling McDonald's here, but like working at some really shitty job, whether that is fast food, you know, McDonald's, KFC, Subway doesn't seem to be as bad, but any of like the really greasy fast food places where there's giant vats of oil, Hungry Jack's or Burger King, same sort of boat. They don't have the giant vats of oil. Actually, no, they do, because they do nuggets. But not... And chips, yeah, so they still have the vats. But they have the more grills and stuff. The grills are obviously going to be just as hot as the oil. Maybe hotter, actually. Anyway, just somewhere that has really shitty conditions. Or if you don't want to do fast food, maybe going and working at a recycling plant or something, separating bottles and cans. Something where it's just like... No matter how... no matter how, like, much you just want to put the effort in, you can't like a job like that. The reason why I think it's a good thing to work a job like that, and I've seen so many people who just go into working a nicer job like I'm at now at a supermarket. I'm not saying supermarkets are, like, top-of-the-line jobs, but, like, a supermarket's a pretty cushy job, to be honest. Especially night fill. And people who come in who just haven't worked a job before, or their previous job was also in a supermarket, most of them tend to be, like, very uppity and very complaining about nothing, really. So it's just like, oh, here's these little problems, and it's like they're the biggest deal you could ever imagine, just because they haven't dealt with a job where that was just, like, the day-to-day thing. Oh, someone hasn't done their job? Yeah, that's what it's like at fast food, because, especially if you're at a shit store like I was, what ends up happening is you have managers who don't follow procedures. So, I would be the only one at that store that actually cleaned the oil. And that meant that after about a week of... Because I was also working one shift a week while I was there. Because I just hadn't found any... Or the last couple of months I was there. Because I just hadn't found something to replace it yet. So being the one person who cleans it once a week, you know that you are. Because you go in there and there's like 3 to 6 inches of like crumbs at the bottom of the vat. And the managers there were always like, oh, why is the oil being, like, why is the oil always so dirty? It's just like, yeah, because I'm the only one here who cleans it and I never work. That's why. And there was also just, like, never any appreciation of, like, any of the work you did. So I was the person who cleaned the oil, and no one was, like, except for, like, the lower end managers were like, oh, thank you for that. Everyone, like, the top end ones, like, no, I don't care. Just, why are the burgers not out faster? Like, mate, I took a slight break just so I could make sure this store doesn't light on fire because you have 6 inches of crumbs at the bottom of your oil. I don't really care if the burger's gonna take 10 seconds longer to get out. That's the other thing. So, I'm pretty sure I can, like, talking about McDonald's, everything I say is going to be fairly standard across any McDonald's you work at. I'm pretty sure the procedure is exactly the same. Judging by the fact that I've seen there's a Japanese McDonald's training video game from the 90s. No, early 2000s, sorry. Early 2000s from Japan that looked exactly the same as my store. I'm pretty sure that everything I say is going to be the same regardless of what country you're in. The other problem we had is that when you're actually working on the burger line, the burger whatever the burger section was called, I don't fucking care. I think it's called the burger line. You had, I think for a cheeseburger it was 15 seconds after the burger, or maybe it was 20 seconds. 20 seconds after the bun comes out of the toaster to actually get the burger made. So if you got an order for, say, like, 3 cheeseburgers at once, it's not like you got 60 seconds. No, that's not how it works. Because it doesn't stack the numbers on top of each other. So you had to, like, somehow make the burgers. You had to make 3 burgers faster than you made a single burger. And it's just like, this is insane. This is not, like, this is just not reasonable. Because no customer is going to complain if they have to wait an extra minute for their burger. You're at McDonald's. They're already under the assumption that everyone in the job hates themselves already. So they're already under the assumption that this food is going to take a while to get to them. As long as it's not taking like 20 minutes, it's going to be fine. If someone has to wait 5 or 10 minutes to get a burger, maybe 10 minutes is a bit much, but 5 minutes to get a burger and some fries, nobody is going to complain about that. And you can't get that through to the management, though. The management is just like, no, we have to make sure we're always hitting numbers. Now, the thing with the numbers is they knew how long you were taking to get the burgers actually made, because you have this screen in the kitchen that shows the order you have to make. And this is the reason why McDonald's and a bunch of fast food places always screw up your order, because they all do the exact same thing. On the screen, there will be a timer. That timer is basically the equivalent of like a KPI or any sort of like sales target you have to hit in any sort of other job. So you have to make sure that number stays below a certain threshold. I believe in the kitchen it had to be below 60 or 30 seconds. And there was no physical way to make sure it stayed below that without, jerry-rigging it. Basically, what you had to do is remember like 6 or 7 orders in your head at the time and cancel off the order every single instant you saw it show up. You couldn't wait until you actually made the order, because your numbers would go way higher than everyone else's. Then you'd get penalized by your management because your numbers were not their magical perfect numbers they wanted you to have, which were just never happening. So you would cancel off these orders, and if there was some custom order, you will make stuff, but you won't exactly know what you were supposed to make. Now, when they do make a custom order come through, you do get a little receipt that tells you this is the order, but it's very easy to make a mistake when you don't have it actually, like, especially with getting things like the correct bun in, for example. Like, if you say have to make some double cheeseburgers, it's very easy to put in the quarter pounder bun. So there were, at least when I was there was like 5 buns you had, and the buns do differ. You have the cheeseburger, the Big Mac, quarter pounder. I think we also had like a brioche and some other fancy bun as well. And if you have a double cheeseburger order, you might get that wrong and throw down a quarter pounder bun, which is going to waste more time because you can only put a certain amount of buns in the toaster at once. And then you have things that like you can't actually come up with on the actual the screen. So you have things like, I've had people order things like, can I get a microwaved Big Mac bun? I'm not even joking here. There are people who ordered not microwave patties. That would be even worse. But they just want the bun microwaved. The problem with microwaving a bun like that, so the microwaves at McDonald's are really, really hot. And microwaving bread normally is fine. But when you do it as hot as we do it, or we did it, the bread just like folds together and it's impossible to do anything. So the Big Mac bun, you've probably eaten a Big Mac before, has a bit of bread in the center. And that bread just falls apart and curls up into a little ball and is really, really fucking hot to touch. So when anyone ever orders something that dumb, you just have to just be like, what the fuck are these people doing? And you make it and you hate it. Honestly, just having to make the fillet of fish with the steamed buns was... Also, yeah, there was steamed buns and there was also microwave buns. So these were different. We had a steamer. Some people didn't want the Big Mac buns steamed though. They specifically wanted them microwaved. The thing with the steamer though is it did not have really any safety protection on it whatsoever. So you got like a little plastic handle that you would hold, and that was the only part that wasn't hot. The entire like bottom base of it was all exposed metal, and if you touch that, you would burn your hand and you'd be in excruciating pain. And the other problem you have is everyone in the McDonald's kitchen also has to wear plastic gloves. So you get things like you have a bit of oil splash on you. Now you have the plastic melting into your skin, or you slightly touch the grill when you're trying to get some meat off, or you touch the steamer, or you do anything in that place was just really hot. These plastic gloves would just melt to your hand, which I don't know what the point of the plastic gloves was. At least in Australia, it's not required for someone in a kitchen to wear gloves like that. Like, I've been to plenty of places that don't do that do the exact same style of work. What else do we have? Oh, here's a secret if you want to get good breakfast at McDonald's. Order it 1, at breakfast. 2, not straight after. Never, ever order breakfast around, like, 11. So, what's going to happen is most stores... Okay, the way McDonald's works is you have these timers on all of your products you've got saved up. So, I think chicken nuggets were, like, 30 minutes. Muffins were, like, 10 minutes. Grilled chicken was an hour. And after that timer ends, you're supposed to chuck the product. Now... most McDonald's don't do that. What they'll actually do is just click off the timer and just keep going. So there will be times where you have, like, chicken nuggets that have been sitting there for, like, 2 hours and muffins that have been sitting there for, like, 3 hours. And the muffins and sausage and bacon, things like that, all of the breakfast stuff is exceptionally bad because after breakfast, people stop ordering it for a while and... you'll just have it sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. So if you're going to order breakfast around like 11, always order it fresh. And you can tell the muffins are fresh because they won't cut your mouth open. That's the muffins are one of those things we can't really get away with. You're not supposed to be able to get away with keeping them around because, yeah, they turn rock solid very, very quickly. But anyway, if you want to get good breakfast, you order it at breakfast time, like in the middle when they're like rushing to get shit done. Or you order it like 1 in the morning, because at 1 in the morning, they will never have any breakfast stuff out, because if they do, it's probably been there for 10 hours. And if it's been there for 10 hours, you shouldn't be shopping at McDonald's anyway, because they clearly have zero care at all for serving food. At all, just don't go there ever again if you do that. Oh, another fun one. In Australia, I don't know if other countries do this, but Australia has this thing where you can buy 24 nuggets from McDonald's. Their bags of nuggets they get are exactly 24 nuggets. So this is the reason why it's 24 and not 20 or anything like that. You can get 20, but the reason why the deal isn't at 20 is because you can chuck down an entire bag and that's the entire order. It's just a bit of convenience stuff. I think you can actually buy 20 nuggets here, but it's actually more expensive than buying 24 because they want you to buy the extra one for... I don't know why, to be honest. I don't know what goes through corporate's mind. All I know is that being a bit of a kitchen bitch at McDonald's, you very quickly learn that nobody cares about you. Not even the only people who care about you there are like the other people who are also suffering through their shit job. But... oh, this isn't a common thing for McDonald's, but my store specifically, we didn't have air conditioning. So my store was a mall store, and when you have any sort of mall shop, you have to go through like the owners of the mall to get anything fixed. And the entire time I was there, for about 2 years, there wasn't any air conditioning. Now, you guys probably know that Australian summers get fairly warm. It's fairly normal in summer for it to be like 36 upwards, maybe even like 40, 41 degrees Celsius. This kitchen in summer would get at least to 50 degrees because there was no cooling whatsoever. The only cooling we got is the cooling that was coming in from like the front of the store through where the mall was. So being in that kitchen was absolute hell. It got so bad through some of the times where they actually let us take these frozen cloths, wrap them around our necks, not to hang ourselves, but wrap them around our necks to cool ourselves down. And then, you know, it slightly worked, but you could also have a fan in there. Now, you didn't want a fan. This is the problem. You could have a fan in the kitchen, but you wouldn't want one because if you had a fan, then the wrappers for the burgers would fly away, which would make everything so much less convenient. You'd be running around way more and defeat the purpose of the fan anyway because you get way, way hotter just rather than just suffering through the heat. I don't know why I'm ranting about McDonald's for 20 fucking minutes, but we're still going. The other thing is, when you work in McDonald's, at least in Australia, you get free drinks. Now, the free drinks are a big brain fucking scam. You think you want to have, like, oh, I can get some free Coke, I can get some free Fanta and Sprite and Sunkist and all that. No, you do not want that. That is the worst idea. So technically, you don't get free drinks because if you drink anything besides water, you will basically die. You will dehydrate and die by the end of your shift, especially in summer. At least in summer, they did let us have, like, water bottles in the kitchen. But because the kitchen's so hot, by the end of your shift, your water bottle would be warm, and you're like, I don't really want to drink this anyway. So you're better off just going out to the front, being like, I don't give a crap if we're busy, I'm getting water. If I don't get water, I'm going to die. I don't care what you have to say about it. Speaking of things to drink, I have some tea. Do we have any other rants? Honestly, I could do an entire podcast just ranting about how fucking shit working McDonald's was. Oh yeah, doing accepting deliveries in the morning. There's another one. I think this will be the last of it, and then I'll move on to something else. When you have to accept deliveries in the morning, at least in a store that closes, I don't know about 24-hour stores, they're a bit different. God, that sucks, because what you're doing is you're trying to... I think the delivery shows up around anywhere from 6 to 8 o'clock, and if it shows up at 8 o'clock, you're fucked. Because that's when you're trying to, like, prepare for, like, the store actually opening up. I don't know how they do it when there's, when it's a bigger store. I'm guessing they probably have someone dedicated in the kitchen. Yeah, they probably would on, like, a 24-hour store, but for a mall store, there was 2 people on. There was the manager, who was doing nothing, because they were a manager doing manager shit, and there was the person bringing all the stuff in. And you had to go and bring all the stuff in. You got, like, I think for our store, it was pretty normal to get, like, 30 or 40 boxes. Obviously, bigger stores, way more stuff. But you would have to find somewhere to put these boxes. And there was always going to be, like, in the freezers, the floor was never going to be cleaned properly. So something was frozen on the floor all the time. And it would always be a tripping hazard. Even if you had, like, non-slip boots on. Because the floor is covered in ice, you're just stuck. And then you would have to also make sure you're doing things like rotating stuff as well. So you would get chips coming in, and if you didn't rotate the chips, you would have, like, chip stock from, like, 7 months ago that had all just... so when you leave something in the freezer long enough, it starts to, like, get frostbite, basically. Most things don't become a big deal because you take them out quick enough, but anything you leave in the freezer at some point is going to start getting severe frostbite. And you'll notice this with meats and potatoes and things like that because they start going white. And you had to make sure you would rotate, like, sometimes 7 box high things of chips. And these boxes weigh like 10 kilos each. So you'd have to take 70 kilos boxes off, put the new box there, put 70 kilos boxes back on, and at that point, you're just like, I don't want to do anything more. But now you have to go prepare for breakfast, because breakfast starts in like 20 minutes. So if you haven't done things like turn your grills on and gotten all of your, like, your steamer and your vats on and stuff like this, you're already fucked. You have to make sure you get this stuff turned on while you're bringing stuff in, and then making sure you have, like, the covers on the grills as well. I had planned for this topic to be like 5 minutes long, and I'm still going. You know what? I'm fucking done talking about McDonald's. I'll save more of my shitty McDonald's stories for another time, like the fact that we had the entire time I worked there, we also had a leaky roof. So when it rained, there was a bit of water that dripped into one of the oil vats. So that vat had to be disabled the entire day. So that means you had one less vat to work with. And this vat was the one chicken vat we had. So you had to, like, do very, very anti-health regulation things and, like, cook the chicken in, like, the pie vat, which is not allowed to happen. But it was all you could do because we had water dripping into the oil. And when water drips into oil that's, like, 200, 300 degrees Celsius, it explodes. It will actually kill everyone in the store. Like, that's not even a joke. Like, it will actually blow up and kill everyone. So you sort of had to turn it off, and that was the only option you had. Yes! McDonald's. Oh, my camera defocused. Defocused? Unfocused. Look at my hand. There's my hand in focus. Look at those creases in my hand. I love having a nice a nice camera like this. Wow. Or no, it's not even a nice lens, I was gonna say. It's not even that nice of a camera. It's just better than what I had. I can be a YouTuber. On that note, I should actually set up some scripts for use in my stream, so I could do things like, you know, I could do software zoom. Like, obviously, I can zoom with my lens like this, but doing software zoom might actually be kind of nice as well. So then I could be like doing some funny meme stuff. Because right now in my live streams, I'm not really doing much in the way of on the fly editing, I guess you'd call it, like making use of transitions and scenes and stuff. I'm just basically having it pretty stable and just going from there. But I've seen some fun stuff that other people do, especially like with Connor's stream, CDogVA. That could be kind of fun. Now, the question is how I'm gonna like bind stuff, because I've mainly been using my numpad to do stuff, and I don't think you can... I guess I could get like an external... I know you can get ones that do work fine on Linux, like external key bay thing of like hotkeys I can bind to. That actually would be kind of useful. Macro key keyboard. I wonder how much they are. Because obviously I could buy a Stream Deck, but like, no. Stream Decks are actually like the biggest scam. Actually, no, not just Stream Decks, like streamer gear and hardware is actually like a big scam. Mac 81 key macro keyboard, cause you... I know you can buy like external things. No, I don't want to know about the macro key that used to be on keyboards. But yeah, the Stream Deck is an absolute scam. Okay, if you don't know what a Stream Deck is, I'm going to show you. You've probably seen streamers using it, and here is, and yes, I know I'm using Google. The Stream Deck is Elgato technology that like it's basically a little key bay thing. With little LED screens on it. All of these buttons are actually LED screens. You can have like whatever images you want on there, and basically you get all of these hotkeys. That's what it is. Now, this is actually really useful. Like the product itself isn't bad. It's just that the price is let's see what did I click on? JB Hi-Fi? What is JB Hi-Fi going to charge me for it? $270 for, what is this, 12 macro keys with little screens on them. Yeah, that's why it's a scam. Because you can do the exact same thing by just getting, like, a macro bay for, like, I don't know how much, because I can't find them for sale. We'll see if we can find one. Keyboard, macro buttons? Keyboard macro buttons. I know you can buy, like, external bays for them. Keyboard with macro keys. Because obviously, like, you could always go and do something like get a key. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, a bay like this, but external to the board. I know you can get them. And then what you could actually do is you could, go and stick stickers on them if you really wanted to see exactly what they were going to be. That's how you would do that. Or you could... The other option besides doing this is getting, like, a fully reprogrammable keyboard. Yeah, this is one for just, like, a numpad. But you can get ones that are, like, you know, just generic macro keys. The question is whether I'd be able to rebind them on Linux. And what they would actually show up as on Linux as well. Here we go. Here's what I'd be looking for. Compatible with iOS and Windows. Why is it compatible with iOS and Windows? Do we need some weird drivers for it? I don't like buying stuff from Amazon though. That's my thing. Also, you can get more than 9 keys. Wait, do these actually... Wait. Oh no, that is a number pad one. Is it a number pad one? I don't know what this is, actually. There's not much information about how this actually functions. They've got stuff about, like, 9-key rollover and nonsense like this. But, like, what is it What firmware is it running? If someone watching this actually has a example of, oh, okay, this is why. It's because it requires some specific firmware. Okay, that's why. There is like an open source keyboard firmware that would actually be really cool for something like this. So honestly, it might not even be the worst idea to just like build a mechanical keyboard like that. Open source keyboard firmware. I can't remember what it is. QMK, that's it. Yeah, a QMK keyboard is what you'd be looking for if you wanted something fully reprogrammable that you could do literally anything with. I know there's like lists of QMK keyboards. All supported keyboards. Here we go. Besides, obviously, like building a board yourself. All right then. Well, that's actually a fucking long list, isn't it? Jesus. But yeah, I want to come with some more convenient way, because the problem with my num keys is number keys typically have other bindings associated to them as well. So if I press, say, like 8 is also going to scroll up the page a bit, and 2 is going to scroll down the page a bit, and it's a bit weird sometimes. So if I could get like a separate macro bay like that, it actually would be, I think it would be a better solution. Let's see. Actually, wait, if I look up like 12 key macro pad. Yeah, there we go. Powered by QMK firmware. Okay. See, look, this is literally the exact same thing as a Stream Deck. It's just you don't get fancy stuff with it. You have your keys, and that's all. It's like, what? 37 euros rather than, you know, $270. Yes, you don't get the fancy stuff with it. Yes, you don't get the fancy Elgato software. Yes, things like that. But they are sold out though. I think this is probably a better way to go. Maybe this is just the cheapskate in me talking, and I just don't want to spend money on things that I don't need to spend money on. Like, it was a challenge for me to convince myself to buy this camera. Like, one part of me was like, I know I need this camera. It's gonna make my content so much better. And the other part of me was like, but do you need it? Like, couldn't you just, like, keep working the same way you're working already? Is it really gonna change your content that much? Because it was, like, a $600 investment? I think so. Give me just... Oh, no, I bought it during Black Friday. I was gonna say, I could check the price now, but... I can't. Where did I actually buy it? Where did I buy it? I didn't buy it from Ted's Cameras, because it was more expensive there. Camera Warehouse? No, that's not the one I bought it from. There's actually a bunch of camera stores in Australia. I probably still got the thing to it. DigiDirect, maybe? I can't find the store that I bought it from. Australia camera stores. It also, I think it had a really sketchy looking website as well. Cameras Direct, maybe. Unless I already said that. No, it wasn't that one. Why? Oh, no. Here we go. It's CCC Warehouse. Here you go. If you want to buy cameras, this is where I bought my recent one from. And I'm probably going to buy my next lens from here as well. Sigma 16mm? Is that the one? I think it's Canon EFM mount. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, when I eventually convince myself that I want to get a new lens, this is probably what I'm gonna. Oh, I thought it was gonna show a weird ad. This is probably what I'm gonna get. I'm not like super dedicated to a specific store though. I just don't want to shop at Amazon. I was watching a Linus Tech Tips clip recently. It was with Luke trying to explain like why he wants to avoid shopping there, and you know what? I can fully understand his reasoning. So basically, it went effectively down to I want to support like local stores, and I don't buy enough from Amazon anyway for it to be that convenient, and I don't support some of the practices that Amazon is partaking in, specifically with like with Amazon Basics, where they pretty much just copy whatever is the most popular trend and then just completely destroy the market for like the third-party market that exists by just making a cheaper alternative. And yeah, in that case, I sort of have to agree, and I'm probably gonna stop shopping entirely on Amazon and start doing stuff in other places, which for some things is a little bit annoying. Like, Amazon is still a really good bookstore, and there's a couple of things I want to get. Like, I want to buy a couple of volumes of Mushoku Tensei, and right now, so this one right here, on Booktopia, this is where I was going to buy it from. It is temporarily out of stock. Now, this recently got a anime adaptation, and the anime adaptation was really, really popular, so it sort of makes sense that it would be sold out. And I think like the first 4 volumes are sold out as well. And the only place where it's in stock is on Amazon. You can buy it for Kindle, but I don't care. I prefer paperbacks. Wait, is it actually not in stock here? See all buying options. No, it is in stock. Okay. And yeah, this is the only place you can buy it from without obviously like going and getting it shipped from like the US or something. There's probably places there, but at least in Australia, it's just not going to happen. But what Amazon is good for is using it as like a search engine. So say you want to go and buy, I don't know, we'll keep on this trend. Let's say you want to go and buy, what's a series that I have or want to get more of? Yeah, Grimgar, we'll say. Yeah, let's say you want to go buy Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. And like, the Amazon search is really good. So going through this and actually finding the thing you want to buy, and then being like, okay, well, I'm going to go and say like this one here. Let's say I wanted to go buy volume 14. I could buy it here, and I now know exactly what the cover art for it looks like as well. Because in the case of buying light novels, there's usually going to be a light novel version and a manga version, and that's going to be a problem. So let's say we want to go back and buy it somewhere like Booktopia instead. So let's go volume 14. Wow, Booktopia actually shows up first. We can go there and see, okay, well, that's the exact same cover. We can buy it here. Go like that. In the case, obviously, of light novels, it doesn't really matter as much. But say you wanted to go buy like some new lights or something like that. Using the Amazon store to like find a product. And then, or actually, one example, I want to go buy some new headphones. So there are a couple of people who keep asking me to buy some. I want to buy some good headphones. Like, I think they were like the Samson 80 something or rather. They're really good for what the price is. Samson headphone SR 850. That's it, I think. Yeah, these ones. They're like $70, and apparently they're really, really good. So I would search for headphones here and then buy them elsewhere. Or I could say someone wanted me to buy cat ear headphones, for example, and I could find them on Amazon and then potentially try to buy them somewhere else, just so I'm not helping support this basically monopoly at this point. Because while other stores do exist, Amazon is so big that it's fair to call them effectively a monopoly. And I don't particularly want to support that, especially when there are like good alternatives already in Australia that I can use. I might as well go and support those. And the same is going to be true regardless whether in Australia. If you're in other countries that exist, I don't feel like listing out countries. maybe actually supporting something else makes more sense. And the thing with Amazon Prime in Australia is basically a scam. So because we're so far away from America, Amazon Prime is guaranteed 1 week shipping. Like, at that point, why would I even pay for it? I can understand. I don't know why you really care about getting stuff the exact same day, but like in the US where you get like same day shipping, sure, I can get that. But Canada has 2-day shipping guaranteed. Australia has 1 week guaranteed shipping. The UK probably has a couple of day guaranteed shipping. Prime's a scam. You might as well just, if you're waiting a week, you might as well just wait an extra like 2 days. At that point, it's probably not super important. And I think Amazon being so, like, taking so long to ship here actually is something that does help our little bookshops still exist. I know in the US, a lot of the bookshops are sort of, like, going out of business. But here we actually have a relatively decent amount of them still existing. And I think part of that is the fact that, yeah, it does take a long time to ship stuff to Australia. So if you want to get stuff quickly, you're probably better off just getting it from somewhere local. The price usually is a bit cheaper on Amazon, but not always the case. One other thing that was pointed out in that Linus Tech Tips clip was that Amazon has like really high fees for he wasn't using the term retailers, but retailers basically works. Anyone selling on the Amazon marketplace, they have really high fees to actually do things like fulfilled by Amazon. And that's why you see things being, in some cases, actually more expensive. The only reason stuff ends up being cheaper a lot of the time is sort of the reason why stuff's cheaper on Steam a lot of the time, because there's a lot of sales. And if you run something like Honey like I do, there's always discount codes that are available for Amazon as well, so you could always use those. Yeah, so basically, to sum it up, don't support Amazon. They shit. But if you do want to, I do have a Amazon affiliate link. I don't want you to use Amazon, but if you're going to use Amazon, you might as well give me money while you do it, basically. Does the Samsung SR850 have a mic? Why would you want a microphone attached to your headphones? That's really dumb. Just don't. Just get a microphone. It doesn't have to be like a microphone I have. Like you don't have what's the one I have? The I'm forgetting my own microphone. AKG P120. It actually says it like right here on the front of it. AKG P120. Like you don't have to go buy something like this. This is a bit outside of most people's range, but like you could go buy like a mod mic, for example, or you could buy, honestly, if you're just buying a pair of headphones for gaming, getting yourself like a second-hand, I wouldn't say a Blue Yeti. Blue Yetis are shit for the price. There's a Samsung microphone, not Samsung. I always get those names confused. Samsung USB mic. Is it the Meteor? Is that the one? Oh, no, it's not, but I've used these before. These actually sound relatively good for what they are. They're kind of shit, but, like, for what it is, it does sound surprisingly good. What is this the one? The Go mic? No, that's not the one. What is the one that... Might be this one, actually. I think this might be the one that everyone recommends. No, it's not. There is a really, really cheap Samsung microphone that a lot of people recommend over the Blue Yeti. But you can get like a really cheap USB microphone that sounds pretty decent. You don't need a microphone attached to your headphones. Just spend the money that you're gonna... Like, here's the thing about having a microphone attached to your headphones. You're always going to get worse quality headphones because you have a microphone attached to it, because obviously it's going to have to take out some of the cost of the device. So it's going to raise up the BOM cost, it's going to raise up the research cost. Generally, you're just going to get a more expensive product. So just get good headphones. Gaming headsets are dumb. Just don't use them. We're past the days where gaming headsets made any remote sense. Like, back on the 360 and PS3, they made sense because they had, like, weird requirements for actually getting devices actually working on that system. Like, you specifically needed, like, 360 headphone or 360 microphone or something like that. But we're way past that point. That the consoles we have now are literally just PCs. So, buy good headphones. Don't care what you buy. Don't care if it's the Samsons or if you go buy, like, a pair of fucking Beats or something. Doesn't matter. And then buy a separate microphone and be done with it. You can even, if you want to get something real good that I'm always surprised that people don't recommend, there is a really cheap lavalier microphone. Where is it? Not PC Part Picker, it's a PC Case Gear. PC Case Gear. I wonder if this... Yes, there it is. Okay, it's $15. Oh, it's been discontinued? Oh, this microphone is so good for what it is. I wonder if there's a follow-up to it. Can we still buy Zalman? You can get them on Amazon at least. You might be able to buy them at other places as well. But this thing, it is okay, it's $20 here. It was $15. It is $20 in Australia. Very underwhelmed by performance. It's $10, $15. It's dirt cheap. Don't be underwhelmed by it. But this thing was honestly the greatest microphone I'd ever seen for the price. Like, you would hear... Like, if someone told you, hey, here's a $15 microphone, you would think this is going to sound complete shit. And it didn't. It sounded so good for what it was. Obviously, it didn't sound good. Like, if I did something like this, it would make the microphone completely shit. But for $15, you could buy yourself, like, a $200, $300 pair of headphones, which if you're buying a good gaming headset is like the sort of price you're going to pay, and then spend nothing and get yourself an equivalent microphone, because gaming headset microphones are always going to be shit. And this thing was basically as good as any gaming headset out there, especially if you're using it actually for gaming. Obviously, doing stuff locally, you're actually going to notice a quality difference, but because on any game servers, your audio is going to be compressed to all hell. They all just sound exactly the same. They all sound equally shit. I bought 5 of these over the past 10 years. Jesus. I wonder if there's an equivalent, because it seems like this one's not being made anymore. Sadly enough. Oh no, they are still in stock apparently. Okay, so you can still buy them in some places. It's just that others they're not. Visit the Zalman store. Oh, these guys make like PC hardware as well. Huh. But yeah, I highly recommend this microphone. Not if you want to do any like YouTube stuff. Definitely not. Buy anything else. Go to actually go to I think the channel's called Podcast Age. As you can expect, like it's a channel that like reviews gear for podcasts. There's a lot of really good microphones that are really cheap that he's reviewed. Check it out, and you'll find something good there. But if you just need something to pick up audio, there are much worse options out there. There are definitely much worse options out there. Hey, it's showing up in my recommended section. I love it. Oh, lovely. So, something I heard about the other week, and didn't get, I want to talk about it on Denchi's episode, but I didn't get a chance to, is this right here. So, Gran Turismo will be featured in an Olympic competition this year. It's part of the upcoming Olympic Virtual Series. Now, I haven't actually looked into this thing, but it seems like it's sort of the first step towards esports being in the Olympics. Which, if you told me this, like, back in the days of Black Ops 2, where Nadeshot was running around quick-scoping people during a pro tournament, I would have said you're absolutely fucking insane. But what's basically happening is these aren't going to be, like, Olympic sports, but the sports that are related to the actual game are going to be hosting tournaments for that game. So, the Federation Internationale de whatever this French name, will host a Gran Turismo competition. This cycling thing will host Swift, which is a virtual cycling game, which I don't think I've heard of that one. World Baseball Softball Confederation will host a tournament for Konami's eBaseball. World Sailing will do Virtual Regatta, which is a sailing game, and then World Rowing doesn't have a game attached to it yet, but they're going to be doing something. I don't know what rowing games exist, but I'm sure they'll find something. But this is sort of like the first step towards there actually being esports in the Olympics, which is insane. Let's see. I'm not necessarily opposed to virtual games being added to the Olympics since they require a lot of practice and dexterity, but something about it still hasn't fully clicked with me seeing them as Olympic events, especially ones that mimic real-world events and races, I guess. Now, I can sort of understand things like, what is it? iRacing or something? iRacing is basically like I think it's iRacing, is a racing simulator. That I could see being in the Olympics, because it's iRacing. Doing, like, racing in the Olympics wouldn't exactly work, just because they don't exactly have the area to host racing events, but online racing, on the other hand, now that could work out. And wouldn't it just be hilarious in, like, maybe 2 or 3 Olympics, where potentially something of the caliber of, like, League of Legends or StarCraft could actually be in the Olympics. Good at Gran Turismo, you could be an Olympian. That's not exactly the deal. There isn't really much details about the Olympic Virtual Series at this point. I think at this stage it's probably going to be like a separate sort of thing from the Olympics. So you have the summer games, you have the winter games, you have the Olympic Virtual Series. What's the other one called? I'm blanking on some of the Olympic. Oh, you have the Special Olympics as well. Yeah, you have the Special Olympics, and that yeah, so it would sort of just be like another thing alongside the Olympics, which I could see happening for sure. I don't know. I kind of want to see where something like this goes, because I just want to see like how dumb this could get. Like, what do we have Rocket League as a virtual Olympic sport? Do we have? Actually, I could see like I could see like I had something that I forget where I was gonna go, but yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this. As I said, not much detail for this is really known. Have Oz in the Olympics. Just... God, that... It had to happen at some point. That's the thing. Because as much people can laugh about esports, and, like, there's been things where, there's been issues with, esports competitors, I guess you'd call them. E-competitors. Trying to get, sports visas and not really being able to get them. I know some countries do actually treat them as sportsmen and actually will give them sports visas, but other ones you have to get like entertainer visas and weird things like that. So something like this would make that actually much easier. I've had a passing interest in esports probably since the days of Call of Duty being really big. I know Call of Duty's still around, but it's definitely not like the beast it was back in like the mid 2000s. I think when I got really into like esports was during the Black Ops 2 period, where I was like real big into following what was happening with Optic. And the first match I ever watched, this is what got me sort of like remotely interested in esports. The first match I watched, I think it was a match between FaZe and Optic. And Nadeshot at the time was a part of Optic. So this was years and years ago, way before he'd even thought of starting his own team. And in that match, Nadeshot was fucking trolling the other team hard, because the level of skill disparity between Nadeshot and most of the other competitors in the league at the time was so great that he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. I think it was a search and destroy match. He was running a gold sniper rifle. There was two main snipers people used. One of them was one shot to the body as well as one shot to the head. And this dude was like, I'm going to run a gold sniper rifle and just go around and quickscope people in a professional match. And this was the most insane thing to ever watch, because he didn't fuck it up. He took out the entire team 2 rounds in a row, and they didn't know what the hell was going on. Optic just trounced the other team. And it's like, how does anyone get this good at a video game? Because this was sort of at the time when there was only just very recently being money involved. Like, it'd only been maybe 2 or 3 years since there was like actual real money involved, where you could actually have a team and have a team that was making money. Because before that, teams did exist. Like, Optic and FaZe had existed for years prior to that. But it wasn't like you could be a member of Optic and that be your job. That had only really just started happening. So it's not like now where spending 40 hours a week getting better at a game can be done. Back then, Nadeshot was just like an absolute monster. If you want some fun, go back and watch some of like the early Nadeshot stuff, because he was insane at this game. It is for the time, like, there are probably people better now, but for the time, this, like, the way he played was, he basically outclassed everyone. There was very few people who even came close to how good he was at the game. But obviously, esports is it's a very much one of those things where you retire early, because if you get some sort of hand injury, you're done. Plus, it requires very high levels of concentration, and something like that isn't something you can really keep around. Honestly, I don't know what the typical age for retirement is, but it's probably yeah, it's 25. Yeah, there you go. Most professionals retire at most professionals retire at 60, so that's real jobs. And most athletes in their 40s, esports players around 25, because yeah, the level of thought processing and the level of, I guess, dexterity you need drastically goes downhill after that point. I know there are older players, but like, apparently there's a 78-year-old pro Counter-Strike Go player. But that dude's probably been playing since like CS Source, to be honest. Especially the other thing that's a problem with being an it's not as big of a problem with something like League or Rocket League or any of those games where you just play a single game. one of the problems with being in, say, Call of Duty or something like that is that you have to learn a new game every year. So you can be an absolute god at Black Ops 2. You can be a god at COD Ghost if anyone really wanted to play that game. Or whatever I think, what's the current one? Isn't the current one like a Battle Royale game or something like that? I don't know. And then the next year, you have to learn something new all over again. You have to relearn all of this meta, while things like your aim are going to obviously transfer over. All the meta changes, so you have to relearn maps and all this stuff. And past a certain point, doing that in a effective and quick way is going to be really difficult to do. Why do esports gamers retire so early? Start early, retire early. Yeah, you also have people starting like at 13 or so and aiming to go pro. That's such a weird thing to think about. Like, when I was a kid, no one, like, if you wanted to be like a gamer and do work, like everyone's dream for like making money playing video games was like being a game tester. That was the only thing when I was a kid that existed to make money playing games. There was nothing else out there. Because it wasn't until so YouTube came out in 2006, so I would have been 8 at the time. I don't think it would have been until I was about 12 or 13 that anyone was making any money on YouTube, and it wouldn't have been for another like year or so where you're making like a good amount. So I would say until I was about in mid high school or so that it was even possible to make money doing videos. At the time, I think that's when gaming sort of became like an actual possible career path for some people, but it was still unthinkable at the time for like esports to be a career path. It's not until a bit later after that where you started seeing like arenas packed of people, like actual like baseball arenas full of people for these sports. It's been a crazy past like 10 or so years. And it seems to only be getting bigger, to be honest. And if this Olympic Virtual Series actually goes down well and they expand the number of games and start hosting like Smash tournaments and all of these other... Actually, Nintendo probably wouldn't be happy with that. Nintendo's really weird about turning their games competitive. But like League tournaments and Street Fighter and... Is there a Tekken League? I don't know. Mortal Kombat and all these other things. Yeah, the money is only going to grow, and it's going to become like even more possible for people to be like 12, 13 years old and be like, oh, yes, I want to be a professional gamer. Still sounds really stupid to me. Maybe I'm just getting old, but the term professional gamer just always sounds so dumb. It's weird enough that I can say like, I'm aiming to do like professional video production, but video production is something like that has existed in form for like, since the birth of film. It's just that now video production has moved from doing long form stuff to doing very short form stuff online. So it's sort of like a continuation for that trajectory. It's now shorter, it's now online, but it's still video production that's always been there. Gaming is like a whole new thing that hadn't existed until, the 80s? And then money hadn't existed till, the early 2000s. So really, like, there are people who are 15 now, who, when they were born, there was no money in gaming. Like, that's how young it is. Yes. I'm going on some, like, real big rants today. I don't know what happened here. I thought, like, maybe the 4-hour stream acted as, like, a warm-up for me. And now that I've got, like, the talking part already going forward, it's just gonna be, like, whoop, 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 whoop. Just keep going. Never stop. If you stop, you crash. Maybe that's how it's going. I don't know. It's very possible. Oh, I was just looking at my YouTube comments. What is this? These platforms don't even yet have a way to verify phone numbers in third world countries. Windows, Broken Heart, Linux, not the other way around. I know what I did. I know what I did. I did that. Oh, no, purpose. There we go. Cool. Yeah, oh, no, I just closed my browser. Oh, no. Did that break? No, it didn't break. Okay, good. So, moving on from that, let's move on to some other topic. Oh, yeah, so I got this, this random, like, subscriber spike the other day. So, let's see how much it actually was. Come on, load my statistics. It was 157 subs in a day. Now, this is a unthinkable number for my channel. Like, there have been times where I've got sub boosts like that, but that was because, like, I got a shout out from Luke, or DT mentions my channel, or someone like that, where people who just didn't know about my channel suddenly heard about it, and then, whoop, massive growth in subs. So I was like, I went to my Discord and asked, did anyone shout me out? Did anyone hear about this? Because usually these guys, they watch more content than I do. So if anyone did, then they would know about it. And for the entire day, no one had mentioned that I got a shout out from anyone. And it seems like I actually didn't. So what actually did happen, back, I think a month ago, yeah, about a month ago, over on Twitter, Nick from the Linux Experiment was saying that he lost, like, a bunch of subs that day, which is weird for his channel because usually he gains, I think he said, like, 100 or so a day. And he lost, like, 10 or 20 subs, which, it's like, did people just suddenly hate my content or something? Like, what happened here? And what actually happened is YouTube, we thought that YouTube had, like, purged a bunch of bot accounts. In fact, what happened is YouTube's, like, metric system had completely shit itself. So, for the past month or so, there has been this discrepancy in the number of subs your channel actually has and the number of subs that YouTube reports it has. So, the reason why I gained so many subs that day is because these were subs my channel already had. It's just that YouTube was telling me that I didn't have them. So, normally in a month, I gain about 900 or a bit over 900 or so subs. And I was sitting around like 750. So this big spike in subs pushed me all the way back up to 900. But it's a 900 that I already was getting. It's just because YouTube operates a what do you call it? It's a eventual consistency system. Basically, they report, or so they collect all the data, and then eventually it's going to be reported to the user as, like, the accurate data. Something along that chain had broken, and 150 subs just disappeared from the count. And eventually they sort of fixed this problem, and I gained a bunch of subs on this channel, I gained a bunch of subs on my podcast channel. Gaming channel didn't gain any, which is fine, because gaming channel grows very slowly anyway, so it'd be weird if there was some discrepancy in counting there. And I'm sure the same thing happened with, like, Linux Experiment and stuff as well, where, you know, there's just this big spike that actually was what subs you already had. But eventual consistency systems make a lot of sense in the case of something at the scale of YouTube, because if you were trying to make YouTube always produce consistent data, the problem you have there is that YouTube exists across multiple data centers. So you would have to slow everything down to the point where everything could communicate data constantly to make sure whenever you check a video, it tells you exactly how many views you have. Like, one common example you'll see is if you go check your video views, for example. When I first wake up, I wake up about 3.5 hours after, an hour and a half after my video uploads. And I might have, say, let's say on an average day, 500 views during that time. And then I will come back to it an hour later and still have 500 views. And that's because, one, YouTube is checking the views are legit, but also because I'm getting views from United States and Germany and India and Canada and Australia and Japan, actually not much Japan, but a bunch of other countries around the world, all of these are sending these all of these people watching these different countries are sending their view data to the data centers that are closest to their country, or in some cases in their country, in the case of like the US and probably India. I'm sure India has big data centers that YouTube takes advantage of. Australia also has one in has a couple in Sydney. Anyway, not the point. So you'll see that you have this number that doesn't grow, and that's because YouTube is checking it and also trying to like bring this data together and work out what the actual number is. And in some cases, like this morning, I had 800 views on my video, and then an hour later, I had 770 views on the video. So some of those views were determined to be fake views. Some of the views were maybe hitting multiple data centers, and they had to like correct for that as well. And this is also part of the reason why on a video that gets a shitload of views, you'll see it'll be stuck at like, what's the number it gets stuck at? Like 301 or something? 201? And it'll be stuck there for a while. And that's because they're trying to do all of this stuff in the back end to make sure the data actually gets consistent at some point. Even if that point is a month from now, it'll be eventually consistent. The same thing happens on something like Amazon, for example. Where, say you have a shopping cart on multiple different tabs, multiple tabs in your browser. If you go and add something on one tab and then add something on another, if you then go and refresh one of those tabs, it may, if you do it like instantly, it may not show both those items being in your cart. Now, for a single item like that, usually it does, but if Amazon's having like a slow day, it may actually take a while for it to decide that it needs to merge these two data sets together. The bigger the data set you get, the more of a problem it's going to be, and that's why YouTube is exceptionally problematic with this. I don't like the word problematic. Problematic makes me think of annoying Twitter people, but problematic works in this case. So the bigger the view counts and the more countries it's coming from, the worse this is going to get and the weirder the numbers are going to look. Like you'll see sub counts going up and down strangely and things of this nature. And I'm pretty sure in the past, when YouTube had like live sub counts for regular people, they were probably faking some numbers there just to make sure it didn't do like weird things like this, and just sort of continued up with its steady growth. Because there's no way they're actually keeping those numbers actually being live updated. There's not a chance that's happening. It would be too much effort and too much performance hit, and it maybe in the case of like one channel, like maybe PewDiePie, for example, they would have live numbers on, but for like regular channels like that, it wouldn't happen. I have a computer science degree. Actually, the funny thing about that's actually one thing I did want to talk about. I've had people asking me constantly, like, "Oh, you've graduated now." So last week I graduated, and they're like, "Oh, you graduated. Like, what are you gonna do now? Like, you're gonna like go get a job as a dev? You're gonna like, or I don't know, go do some sysadmin stuff. You could do some sysadmin stuff. You do a lot of Linux. You know about sysadmin. Or you want to do some like C dev or some web dev or something like this." And I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna chill for a bit. I'm just gonna like enjoy my life. That's what I'm gonna do for now. I have had a couple of people offer me jobs. One doing like some Python work. One doing, I think there was like some C# work doing. I think it might be the continuation of what I was doing at uni. I've had people offer me JavaScript work, and at this point, I'm like, I'm happy what I'm doing, and I think that's the big thing that you. I think that's the big thing that you should be aiming for. Maybe not happy is the best word, but fulfilled. Because I wouldn't want to go and do some dev job that I absolutely hate. Like, if I wanted to do a dev job, I would do something that I'm actually enjoying, or if the money's really good, I'll do it for the money. But generally, I want to do it because I want to be doing something I love. And right now, the thing that I love is making these videos, making the podcast. The camera's there. making the podcast, making the gaming channel stuff, making the main channel videos. And while working at a supermarket isn't like giving me tons and tons of money, it's enough money where I'm paying my bills and I'm saving money, and I'm not struggling or anything. Like, sure, more money would be cool, but like, what am I gonna do with more money? I guess except buy more crypto. That's probably the one thing. So my mum is from what I hear, not exactly happy that my plan with the degree right now is do nothing with it. But the thing is, with this software engineering degree, it was out of date when I got it. It's going to be out of date when I go to use it. So even if I decide to focus entirely on this for like 2 or so years, see where it goes. Maybe it goes nowhere. Maybe I just stop growing at 20k subs, and that's just what happens. Maybe, I don't know. But if it does go somewhere, I can decide later on if this is the thing that I want to do with not the rest of my life. Like, YouTube is obviously not going to go on forever, or video production in general. This is part of the reason I do have the multiple channels, because even if this channel doesn't go on forever, I can do other things. And I don't want to get to the point where nobody watches the main channel and then I'm just left with nothing. So I want to build up these other things, so if I need to like pivot somewhere, I can always pivot very easily. But where was I going with this? Right. I can decide later on if I want to do something then. Because I know here's the thing. I am in a really good position. This might not be the position that most people are in, but running a channel like this, I am in a really, really good position if I want to get some dev work. Because I can just send out a tweet tomorrow, and I will have 5, 10 DMs, people being like, hey, do you want to do this work? And this isn't me flexing or anything. This is just me saying, like, I am in a position where I can go and get a dev job if I want to. I just don't want to right now. And plus, the other thing I'd want to do if I was going to go get a dev job is I wouldn't want to just go and, if someone did offer me a job, I wouldn't want to just jump into it being really rusty with programming. I would want to go and, work on a portfolio for a year and, like, hardcore work on it. Get, like, an actual decent set of projects out. Maybe, like, spend 2 months on each project. Get, like, 6 really good projects that I can be like, this is what I know. I would want to do that before I actually fully committed to going into dev work, because I would feel bad for whoever offered me the job if I went into it like half-assing it. Yes, I could go and do some JavaScript work or some Python work or C# work. Unless it's like .NET Core, I don't want to do any C# work, because it's probably going to be in .NET on Windows, and I've done that in the past. It's fucking awful. But I would feel bad for whoever offered me the job if I didn't go and actually, I guess, sharpen up the tools, I guess, would be a good way to put it. Get myself to the point where I would feel happy with the work that I was putting out. And that's sort of where I stand on that. So yeah, I've graduated. And for now, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep working on the channel. I'm going to keep trying to improve stuff. I'm not going to be wasting money on improving stuff like some people I know do. Christian, you didn't hear that? I know he occasionally watches stuff. I might clip this and send it to him. I've talked to some people that we both know who've sort of mentioned that you do like to waste a bit of money on the channel and waste a bit of time editing stuff that doesn't be edited, but that's a whole nother topic. I do like you, but cool dude. Cool dude. You waste some money on some stuff, though. Probably don't need to. Anyway. Yes. For now, we're doing what we're doing, and we'll see where it goes. That's it. We'll see where it goes. And if it doesn't go anywhere, well, that's fine. I'm 23. I've got plenty of years ahead of me to decide that this wasn't the direction to go. The thing is, like, if I decide now that I wanted to go do some dev work, and I did that for like 7 years, once you get yourself into that like flow where it's like, oh, now you have a house and they have all of these other things you got to pay for, it's much harder to try out something new. Like right now, my bills are like $300 a week, something like that. Maybe 200. It's really cheap because I share house. So I split my rent between 3 people. I split my electricity and gas and water. I forgot what the other bill was. Between 3 people, the internet as well. It's like, it's not expensive where I'm living. Like, I can afford to try out new things. But if I did this when I had, like, a family already established or something like that, that's much harder to do. So while I'm young, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And if it is a big mistake, well, when you're young, you make mistakes. And I'll look back on these couple of years where I've been doing YouTube and be like, okay, that was a fun time in my life, but I'm never gonna go do that again. That was just a period of my life where I wanted to try out something, and I tried it out. Yeah. Pretty much it. When you're young, be stupid. TLDR. Just do whatever the fuck you want when you're young, and you'll be good. Speaking of dev work, we need to talk about Luke Smith. This is a clip for sure. So, okay, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm gonna play you the part of the video where he talks about the job. For anyone who doesn't, if you just happen to not know who Luke Smith is, I guess.
Parallels
Stop.
desktop.
I don't care about Parallels desktop. Go away. No, you're not even gonna get to see the ad. Go away. You don't get any money from people.
Have to do a
whole
lot to do a little. You know what I mean? You have to. So again, you know, I have an audience. I'm going to be selling in terms of payment. I'll part with this project to whoever
Is
is
this
willing to
it?
help with this project. Maybe you'll also need to interface with Lulu's API. This could be I'd want a website.
Here we go.
With Lulu's API. So basically I'd want a web also one but you need a little job first month or so.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I was just jumping around trying to find a good point.
To me. So if there's anyone that's
okay, basically, this man right here, Luke Smith. He's a Linux YouTuber. Very rarely does Linux videos. He's looking for a dev to make his website. Anyway, let's listen to the job that he has for us.
Familiar with this kind of stuff and is willing to help. I think that what I'd probably do, so again, you know, I have an audience. I'm going to be selling a lot of these books, hopefully, once it gets underway, and I'd be willing to part with, you know, in terms of payment, I'll part with a good share of the first month or so of revenue to whoever.
We'll get into why the first month or so of revenue isn't going to be enough to cover this job in just a minute.
Whoever is willing to help with this project. Maybe, you know, more than that if I think that it's warranted. But honestly, I think this...
It will be. Anyway.
Could be a very simple project if someone is familiar with Stripe's API. You'll also need to interface with Lulu's API. So basically just to explain the job, what it would be...
How did it take me so long to find this section? This is literally the part I was looking for.
I'd want a website... and I want, firstly, I want it to look very simple. You know, I like HTML buttons, frankly.
CSS is
but you need a
zero
little
CSS,
JavaScript
easy.
that interacts with the Stripe API so people can pay, you know, and you have some kind of interface where it has a cart and stuff like that. But specifically, you take payments with Stripe and then you send to Lulu's API an order to print the book and deliver it to the person's house. Okay, that's basically it. All you need to know is how to use the APIs of Lulu and Stripe and some other stuff. There are other details like shipping information and how fast they want it shipped that you can get from Lulu's API. I just don't want to do it myself.
Okay, now, as he said, this sounds like an easy job, and it does sound like an easy job. So basically, sum it up, you're going to be creating a shopping website that gets books printed, and then the book printing thing will send you the books. Fine, sounds easy enough. This job is really, really expensive, and I don't think Luke understands what he's exactly asking for here. So, okay, let's break down part of it. Let's say we want to go and do the shopping cart, for example. Okay, so we have a shopping cart. That's fine. Well, let's add the books to it. Okay. But what if someone wants to go and, I don't know, say, come back to the store at some later point? Are we going to not have accounts? So is the shopping cart just going to be stored as cookies? Okay. that's not going to work later down the line. Later down the line, you're going to want to have, especially with things like shipping information, you want to have shipping information stored somewhere. So you're going to have an interface for the shipping information to be stored. And you probably also want to have a interface that stores the credit card information. And what if you don't just want to do credit cards? What if you also want to support things like PayPal? Well, now you need to add in the support for PayPal within Stripe. Luckily, that's not too difficult. It's just another thing you need to do. Okay. Now, that's all already starting to get quite expensive. So you're also going to have some way to generate receipts, because you're going to have to make sure your taxes are in order if you're trying to operate a store like this. There's no way you're going to get around doing that. You have to do it, especially if you're working through Stripe. Your government is going to know how this is going to be going down. So you're going to need to generate receipts. Okay, so you need to be storing this payment, all of this information somewhere, and you should also be sending these receipts to the user. You also, when you have this shipping stuff, when you're shipping the books to the people, you should be giving them some sort of shipping information. And this shipping information, once again, links back to this account. So there's going to need to be an account system in here, whether you like it or not. Unless you want your shopping site to be incredibly inconvenient to use, there'll be an account system. So, because you have accounts, now you're going to need to have some sort of database. And you're going to need a database anyway, because you're going to need to actually be storing your receipts somewhere. So, we have a database with all the accounts of these receipts. We now need to be doing password management. Okay, this adds another level of complexity to it. So now we've already just built this massive shopping system, and this is without even getting into the problem of the shop front itself. So, how are we going to be generating the pages for the books? Are we going to be generating all of these pages by hand? That is completely insane. That would be so much more work to do. So what you're going to want to do is have the books stored in some sort of database where you can just generate the pages. Whether that's through some like static HTML generator or something else like that, you'll need something like that. And you'll... I can't even get... I'm honestly losing my track of how insane this job is. So, you need to make sure you have these pages being generated like this. Okay. And now we get into a really big problem. We're going to have the prices. So, prices might sound easy, but prices are very much like the problem of doing time zones. If you're... Don't do time zones yourself. Go download a time zone application. But there's a reason why things like Shopify exist, and it's because the US tax system and global tax systems are an absolute fucking nightmare for any sort of retailer. So different states in the US either don't have sales tax, have different levels of sales tax, and that's already enough problems. So you're gonna have to show different prices depending on where the user's coming from. So this isn't just a little bit of JavaScript. Now you're going to have some checks on their IP address to see what region they're actually from. And you're not getting around this. You're going to have to be charging sales tax whether you like it or not. Then we also have the problem of dealing with people outside of America. So let's say we're in Australia. In Australia, you are required by law to apply GST to most sales. So now your payment system needs to apply GST during the checkout process. But what if we're actually in Europe? Well, Europe doesn't have GST. Europe has VAT, which is value-added tax, and you're going to have to go and make sure that's being done as well. And we've just made this insanely complex system, and that's without even getting to other countries. I'm sure other countries like India and Japan and anywhere like that also have their own sales tax that must be applied to any sales made within their country. So all of this stuff needs to be done, and the backend, I believe he wants it built in Python or Node. The backend, like the language it's built in, honestly doesn't matter, because it's such a massive job anyway, that you could fucking build it in C for all that matters, and it would still take you like 2 or 3 months to build. So I've gone over the books itself, the shipping information. Oh, did I say that the receipts need to be emailed to the user as well? So you're going to have to make sure you're storing email information, even if they don't have an account. So you have the the account information there that'll be stored in a database. And you're also going to have a system where you actually email these receipts to users, because not all of them are actually going to be using the account system. So the receipts, the payment information, the tracking information all need to be sent to the user. This isn't the 90s. You're not going to get away with just having a site that's as simple as you want it to be. Let's say then you want to also have some other form of payments. Now, Luke's very into crypto, so maybe you want to have crypto payments as well. I don't know if Stripe supports crypto. That probably does at this point. But if you don't have crypto payment, or if you don't have Stripe supporting it, you might need an extra API to deal with that. And that builds a whole nother layer of complexity to this. And like he says I want simple web pages, as if that part's the difficult part. Generating simple pages, or generating pages with complex CSS, isn't difficult. Like, you're gonna make a template page, you'll make a template shop page and populate it with the information you want. You could go and do this with static HTML. It could be done. I wouldn't recommend it, because it would make updating the site an absolute fucking nightmare, because then you would have to go and regenerate the entire site every single time, rather than generating it from JavaScript, or generating it on the back end with PHP or something like that. Like, there's a reason why we do everything dynamically now. It's because it's just easier. So if you were doing this by hand, you would then have to go and manually populate all of these pages, make sure the links are being make sure that the payment links are actually there, and make sure you're actually going to the correct parts of the site. And then if anything needs to be updated, then all of that stuff would have to be done again by hand, which is why we don't use HTML by itself to do it. We use fucking JavaScript or back-end page generation. I just came up with another problem. What if down the line you want to have some way to actually discount books? So, one, you're either going to have to go and do everything again by hand, update the pages, the pages you want to discount with the books you want to discount, or you have it on a database. But you still need to have some sort of way to actually go and update that. Now, whether you're going to, say, manually update it through SQL on the back end by updating the database, or have some sort of... Most shopping sites will have some sort of interface to go and do it, whether that's like a GUI interface or a CLI interface. In Luke's case, though, he'll probably want something CLI, because I don't know if he knows any SQL. Maybe he does, I don't know. But you're going to have something there to update the database to make sure you can do updated prices and all that. And then you have to make sure that your taxation is actually properly changing for all of the different different regions. So you will need to have some sort of admin account system to actually check the prices in the different regions. Even if you don't have accounts for users, there'll still need to be some way to emulate you're going in a different region, just to make sure testing can be done in some relatively simple way. What else do we have? Do we have anything else that's a big deal? Oh, and the reason why I can go on this long spiel about all of this stuff that needs to be done is because the spec for this project is so ill-defined. Yes, Luke can say he wants something simple now, but he's gonna realize as the shop goes and as he does his taxes that he will need something more than this. And the project is just going to scope creep. It's going to keep going and going and going, and this is going to be a job where it probably is never going to end. And the problem that we have here is Luke is very much misunderstanding how much money he's going to make from this. So, I can guarantee, I know Luke has a big channel. He has 118k subs. That's cool. But, as you can see, 118k subs. Probably going to be 119 by the time you see this. Maybe even more. Maybe 120. There's not going to be that many people who want to buy the books. So the books he's printing are ancient books that have gone out of copyright, and he wants to make sure these books stay in circulation. It's a perfectly valid project. I don't think it's a bad project. But the PDFs he's going to be using, I'm pretty sure he's going to make available for free, and what you're getting is, like, you're paying to get the book printed, basically. Plus, all of the books already exist out there for free anyway, he's just, like, reformatted them. And let's say, I don't know how much he's going to be charging for these books, but let's say... Oh, no, okay, so I was wrong. He did actually say he does want support for coin payments so he can do Bitcoin and Monero. Okay, sure. So we've confirmed that he does want crypto stuff, which then makes the taxation even more annoying. And you have to make sure you're getting your receipts perfect then. So there will need to be receipt generation as well, no matter what you think about it. Also then, yeah, it's gonna make making sure the prices are working well is also gonna be a pain in the ass as well. I don't know how much effort coin payments does with helping you with the with crypto payments like that. Let's see. It seems like it does a lot of stuff for you, so you won't need to do things like locking down crypto prices because it's all done for you, so at least you don't have that problem to deal with. Where was I going? Oh right, the price. So, Luke is probably not going to sell that many books, to be completely frank. I know Luke probably thinks he is going to sell a lot of books, he's going to make a lot of money from this, there's going to be a lot of money to actually pay the dev, but even if Luke paid me 300% of what he made in the first month, I wouldn't do this job. It just wouldn't happen. So let's be kind to Luke and say he makes $1,000, which I don't expect to happen. I really don't. I would find it very unlikely that he's going to make that much money. Let's say he's charging $10 a book, which for what he's doing is probably way too expensive for what they should be, but that would be selling 100 books in the first month. If it was a Luke Smith book, like if Luke had wrote his own book, that would be one thing. That would sell. But these are just like random ancient books, and I don't see that happening. $1,000. Okay. Now, we have a price. So let's say that the dev wants to be paid, if you have any respect for yourself, at least $40 an hour. So the $40 an hour is on the low end as well. I'd want to be paid at least 75 for a job like this, to be fucking honest, but I would accept 50. So let's say we'll say $40 an hour. So 1,000 divided by 40, that gives you 25 hours. So that isn't even a full week of work if you're working full time. This will take so much more than 25 hours to do. If this job took, honestly, I would say, if we want to be completely honest, I would say this job is probably going to cost at least $10,000. I wouldn't touch it for for anything less than 5 digits, to be completely frank. So that's not gonna he's not gonna make that for at least most of a year. There's no way he's gonna make that until at least 10 months minimum. If he's making $1,000 a month, which isn't gonna happen. So $10,000, and I would consider the job. I wouldn't want to do it, but I would consider it. And but the thing is, someone's going to do it. Someone will do this job. He's already had people apply to it, and someone's going to realize how insane this project's going to be. And if Luke doesn't realize how insane this project is and tries to run it without doing receipts and stuff, he's going to be in a legal nightmare. He is going to have the IRS knocking on his door if he doesn't do it properly. Because it's one thing to get your individual taxes wrong, but getting your business taxes wrong is that's going to be a big problem. And when you're operating a business like this, yeah, the IRS knows you're operating a business. Stripe has to inform them, that you're actually a merchant at this point. So, yeah, this job's so much more expensive than Luke thinks it is, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. It's insane. If I want to work for basically no money, I'm going to work for myself, pretty much. I'm not going to do someone else's stuff and then have no rights to it. Because this entire project is the reason why things like Shopify exist. Shopify is how you build a shop because it's just easier. That's it. Like, there's a reason why people don't build their own shops, because Shopify just does everything for you. It does the US tax nonsense for you. It generates receipts for you. It does all of this stuff that actually makes building a shopping site difficult and gives it to you in the form of some black magic that you can't really work out how it functions, but it at least does it all for you. If he said, I will pay you $1,000 to build me a site and set it up with Shopify, that would be a good deal. Honestly, at that point, it would probably be a bit expensive on his side. I would cut him down a bit, just to be nice. But doing this all from scratch just isn't worth it at all. And I think he also plans to, like, release the shopping code under a GPL as well. Basically, he wants to make, like, a GPL version of Shopify, which... just fucking use Shopify. I get the meme, like, everything has to be open source and build it yourself and all that stuff, but at some point, just use Shopify, to be honest. Like, it would be one thing if someone wanted to build their own open source Shopify. That would be cool, and I could fully get that, but that's not what this is. This is you building someone else's shop, they're just going to release the code, and you get probably, like, honestly, someone joked in the comments, like, oh, did you know that in real work, in modern work, you don't get paid in money, you get paid in exposure? And to be completely frank, I would prefer to be paid in exposure, because it's probably going to be worth more than what you're actually going to make from the actual project itself. The only people that this project would actually make financial sense to do with would be people in India or somewhere that has, like, really a really different level of buying power. So where, like, the US dollar is worth considerably more. Not just India, but other places like that where a lot of the dev work does get sent, because you can get it done cheaper. But honestly, I don't know how many Indians actually still watch Luke after he's shown how he's basically no care for, like, the India in general. With all of the jokes he's made about Indian techs and all that. I don't know if there's any Indians who still watch him who'd be up for doing the job. But I was saying earlier that, yeah, he's had people apply for the job, so someone's gonna do it. I feel bad for them. And what's gonna happen is the job's gonna be half done, and the shop's never gonna exist, basically. Or it's gonna have to be scrapped, and Luke's just gonna have to accept it and just use Shopify and just do it like that. Because the other thing about Shopify, so he's using Lulu, and would you look at this? Wow, there's a Lulu Express plugin for Shopify. Just fucking use Shopify, mate. Be so much easier. Has a 3.2 star rating. I don't know if that's a 3.2 star rating for Lulu, because I've heard Lulu's not that great, or a 3.2 star rating for the plugin. Why does it have a 1 star? What the fuck? The company takes weeks. Yeah, okay, so it's a complaint. It is a complaint about Lulu being shit. That's fine. But yeah, just Shopify. It'll be easier. That's the end of my TED talk. I'm done. I'm gonna cut back to when I'm back in a second, actually. It is a rare occurrence where I need to go and take a piss during the middle of a 2-hour podcast. Usually I can get through the entire thing and be perfectly fine, but for some reason, maybe getting super into the rant, it's like, yes, now is the time you want to go take a piss. So I'll cut out all of the blank air there so you guys won't have to deal with that. God. That's enough for the Luke Smith rant. I'm probably gonna do the same sort of rant on the live stream. So this rant will happen. I think you'll hear this after the live stream. Yeah, after the live stream happens, this will be out. So if you want to hear if you want to hear that, there will also be a clip for that on the podcast. And I'm probably going to go and make that like its own separated clip as well. And I might just like note some stuff out because this is just a rant off the top of my head. And I know there's going to be people in chat who are actual devs who realize how stupid this project is, who will give me some extra details on why this is stupid. So check that out. It's probably going to be a clip on the gaming channel, I reckon. So what are we at? We're at 1 hour and 46 minutes. Fucking hell. I've gone into like 4 topics today. Jesus Christ. Some of these topics went on way longer than I had ever expected them to. Like, I didn't think that, like, the McDonald's topic, for example, would take so long. So since we're basically done, I guess we will go into... What should I go into? I want to actually, you know what, we're going to rant, because we're talking about Luke anyway, let's talk about how much I hate the city. So, as I mentioned, I had my graduation the other day. And this graduation happened in Adelaide on Hindley Street. There's like a fancy spiky building there, because in Adelaide, if you want to have a modern building, it has to be very spiky and look really dumb. Anyway, we're in Adelaide. I wasn't driving, luckily. I decided... They were planning not to do this, and it was even worse if we didn't do this. Me, my sister, my mum, we carpooled. Much easier process, especially because in the city, you can't get free parking during the day. Even though Adelaide is a very small city, it's like a large town compared to like some other cities out there. It's bad enough that I don't want to deal with it. So, the city drivers are a shit. You will get cut off just constantly. She's like, oh, I'm just gonna like cut into this lane, almost kill you and all that, but now you're just cutting your lane. Or yeah, just gonna get what in the world? Hey, sister got a D on her math assignment. That's cool. D as in a distinction, not D as in like your shit. But yeah, city drivers are awful. City traffic is awful, and this was like traffic during the day, like not during the day as in like rush hour, like during the day when nothing was fucking happening, because it's Adelaide and it's during the day on a Wednesday. There's nothing that happens in the day on a Wednesday in Adelaide at all, unless it's like the Fringe, and the Fringe is well over at this point. But this has made me realize that I never have any interest in living in the city, because I used to in the past, like back when I was a kid. I was like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be... Because I was living rural at the time. I was like, wow, wouldn't it be so cool to, like, live in an apartment in the city and be, like, right in the center of everything. And then as you get older and you visit the city, one of two things happen. One is that you realize that you adore the city and you adore, like, there constantly being noise and, like, you're always being, like, the hustle and bustle of the city, as they would say. Or you realize that you were completely wrong as a kid and... that living in the middle of fucking nowhere where it's real quiet and you can like go outside and listen to some birds and like read a book. Maybe if you're in a place that has some water, you could even go fishing. You realize that part that you thought was really boring as a kid because you were like, I want to go play the PlayStation. You realize that part was actually going to be the really nice part and the part you want to get back. And that's the realization I had once again being in Adelaide for the first time in a year or so. Because I didn't want to be anywhere near the city during Rona. It seemed like a massive mistake to ever consider doing that. So I avoided the city like the plague, which is a nice potential pun. Anyway, yes, I avoided it like the plague, unlike the plague. I'm sorry. I'm done with the puns. Anyway. Also, just... there's people everywhere. I don't like it. Adelaide, okay. Someone who actually lives... I know Will might see this and be like, there's not many people in Adelaide. I come from Brisbane. But, like, as someone who lives in South Australia where nobody lives, being somewhere where there's, like, hundreds of people in the same place, I'm like, I don't like this. It's too crowded. I want to go somewhere where there's, like... space and stuff. I want to go like do anything else and not be here. Plus, the problem I have with being in any city, Adelaide's not as bad because we do have a lot of greenery in the city, but every city, it's always going to be like concrete jungle. That's like the stereotypical idea of a city. I like to be places where there are like just trees and grass. They don't have to be natural. They can be like placed there specifically to like liven up the area, but having just trees everywhere and just trees alongside the road rather than just shops every single spot and like buildings everywhere. Just maybe have a block of trees. That's what you don't get when you live in the city. But if you go out somewhere just slightly metropolitan in Australia, or you go even further, you go like another half an hour out and you're in the middle of fucking nowhere in like rural Australia, because that's how quickly you can get into middle of nowhere. It's just land. And I don't know how to explain it as someone who just likes the rural sort of atmosphere, I guess you'd say. I don't know how to explain why I like it, but anyone who does like it, I think sort of is clicking with what I'm saying here. I don't like the city. I have no plans of ever living there. That's the other thing that I would... one of the good things that has come out of this is that most dev companies have realized that remote work is lovely. So I could go and live in the middle of nowhere and still do remote work. Like, I had someone offer me a job in Queensland, I think it was, but the job was completely remote. He was in Queensland, some other devs were somewhere else, and some other devs were somewhere else, and I could do this now. And that's just cool. You don't need to live in the city to do dev work. Sure, there are exceptions. Like if you want to go work at Google or somewhere like that, yeah, you would need to in Australia live in Sydney, Melbourne. Let's find now. I can't remember. Google Australia building. Sure. The new HQ is in Sydney. Yeah, there you go. Why did I look up building, not headquarters? Yeah, I know Google does do, like, remote and also office stuff, but the fact you have an office and you have to go into the office means you're going to have to live relatively close to the city, which I don't want to do. Especially not Sydney. Fuck living anywhere near Sydney. That sounds horrible. Maybe I'll visit Sydney at some point again. I think the last time I visited was, like, 10 years ago. It was hell then. And I visited Melbourne as well about around the same time. It was hell then as well. And I have no interest in living there. Melbourne I do want to go to because there is a lot of the Australian comedians are in Melbourne. So being a fan of comedy, you sort of have to want to go to Melbourne at some point and see the comedians on their like local stages. But that's the only reason why. Maybe I'll go during like the Melbourne Comedy Festival or something. But not live there. Definitely not. No. I know someone who did move to Melbourne recently and like lives in an apartment in Melbourne, all that fancy city life stuff. I'm like, nah, it's good for me. I want to go down by the river. I want to catch some fish, and I want to go drink not some beer. Fuck beer. I want to drink some jacks down by the river while I'm catching some fish. It might be a dry zone, but fuck it, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm in rural Australia. There's fuck all cops around anyway, so you might as well just do it. I'm not advising you to do illegal things, but like, yeah. No one cares anyway. Yes. I was going to talk about Mortal Kombat, wasn't I? Yeah, I was thinking of talking about Mortal Kombat. We're only like 5 minutes to the end, so I guess we'll do that. So, the other day, I had a bunch of mates I guess they wanted to go see a movie. And they're like, let's go see the Mortal Kombat movie. I have no knowledge of Mortal Kombat. I literally don't know anything. All I know about Mortal Kombat is there's like fatalities, the theme song is good, and like you rip people's spine out with one of the characters' fatalities. And I think the one character I know the name of is like Raiden. So I was going into this movie basically as watching it as like an action movie. And I think the user reviews of Mortal Kombat are actually really good. So Mortal Kombat movie. Not the 95 one. Is a 6.3 on IMDb. But let's get a Rotten Tomatoes. So it has a audience score of 87. And the tomato meter, which is like the reviewer score, which I don't give a crap about reviewer scores, is the reviewer score is 55 and the audience score is 87. But it seems like they were trying to tell way too much of a story. So I think like if they'd cut out like half an hour of the story and just fleshed out more of what was going on there, it probably would have been a better movie. The big problem it had though is that half of the movie, actually over half the movie, the characters didn't have any of their abilities. So there was a big segment where they were like trying to unlock their Arcana abilities. And this was fucking boring because it was just like the exact same scene over and over again. You had Kano, and there was a character introduced specifically for the movie named Cole Young, who was like the ancestor of Scorpion or Hanzo, if as he was as a human. He was the ancestor of Hanzo, and I didn't give a crap about him because he was just like generic action protagonist number 10. And yeah, there was these scenes where they were in Raiden's temple trying to unlock their Arcana. Basically what it ended up being was Kano, Cole, and what's her face? Sonya Blades. Just boxing on with each other, trying to unlock their abilities. And that scene would end, they wouldn't unlock anything. Then they'd do it again and again. And it happened like 3 or 4 times, and then eventually Kano unlocked his laser eye. And that's cool, because Kano was the best character in that movie. By far. Kano was the only thing that made that movie entertaining. So, Kano is like the Australian dude, and he's super fucking Australian. He was just talking shit the entire movie, just making fun of everybody. And that's what I wanted. As soon as I heard about Kano, I wanted that to be what was going to happen. And I got it. But the fight scenes, they were like the most generic action movie fight scenes as well. It's not like they were trying to, sort of emulate the Mortal Kombat style, doing like a side-scroller thing and then doing like Mortal Kombat style moves as well. No, that's not what it was at all. It was just like, hey, have you seen a Jason Statham movie in the past 5 years, but you don't want Jason Statham to be in it? This is what you get. And yeah, the fights were just boring. It's like, I've seen these fights in other movies. There's nothing interesting here at all. You could have at least made the characters fight in an interesting way, but that didn't happen. So eventually, like the mortal realm and the Earth realm, whatever it was called, the Earth realm and the outer world, or what the fuck it was called, they got into their war, and then Kano was like, "Lol, I don't give a crap about you humans. I'ma go chill with the Outworld guys because they offer me more money." And that's when he died, and that's when the movie got really bad. As soon as Kano died, I was just like, I don't care about this movie anymore. Because the problem with the human side, there was no risks whatsoever. Like, only one dude on the human side died, and that was like Hat Dude. I don't care what his name is. He picks up the hat, he throws the hat at people. Yeah, whatever the fuck his name was. He was the only dude on the human side who died. Everybody on the Outworld side died except for Sub-Zero. Actually, no, Sub-Zero even died. Yeah, Sub-Zero died because Scorpion killed him. So, the one good fight scene this movie did have that actually did take advantage of the fact that you had Mortal Kombat characters was the, So, the movie started off with a fight between Hanzo and Behen, who then later on became Scorpion and Sub-Zero, respectively. And that was the first fight of the movie. It was set, like, back in the past before any of the the modern Mortal Kombat stuff went down. It was set in like ancient Japan, and that was awesome. And that's sort of like the thing they brought back together. Then to the end of the movie, you had the fight between then Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and that was fun because they were all like Scorpion and Sub-Zero were fighting with their abilities. Scorpion like throw out his like spiky thingy that grabs into things. You had Sub-Zero using the ice abilities. Scorpion was like throwing fireballs and shit. Like, that was fun. That was what the movie could have been if they just skipped all that Arcana bullshit and was just like, yes, all of these people already have their abilities. Just fucking go from here. So maybe if there's a second movie, it'd be better. But I don't expect it to get one because it was shit. It was so fucking boring. Let's see, what else did we have that was wrong with it? Oh yeah, also Cole is just a character that I don't care about at all. Like, there was a bunch of the movie that was, like, focused on Cole and his family, and she's like, I don't give a crap about your family. Like, oh, Cole's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to... I don't want to save... I don't want to, like, care if the world's gonna be destroyed or something. I don't want to fight these demons. I'm gonna, like, go home. It's like, Cole, are you... What are you doing right now? And then when he, like, got serious, he, like, sort of had this anime protagonist, epiphany. So, towards the end of the movie, he was like, oh, yeah, I'm, like, a super cool dude now. I'm, like... I'm a big protagonist. I'm gonna lead the way. Like, mate, you didn't do anything the entire movie. You just got beat up, and then you eventually got your abilities. Oh, that's the other thing. As people were getting their abilities, because they were, like, gaining them as the movie was going, they just gave them new abilities whenever anything bad was happening. So, Cole was about to get killed by the big thing that has 4 arms, and then Cole unlocked this armor that he had, and then he unlocked these knives that he could spawn out of nowhere, and that just kept happening. Same with... Actually, no, Sonya just got her abilities out of nowhere. Sonya just got... So, initially, Sonya didn't have the mark of the Mortal Kombat tournament. She didn't get that until she killed Kano. So, she got her abilities out of nowhere. So, why didn't... You could have just skipped all the other bullshit with all the other characters and just gave them their abilities from the start. They didn't have to go through this training that wasted like half an hour of the movie. As soon as they got just say the mark fucking spawns on them, and then they just suddenly have these abilities. That would have been better. Then you could have like a little bit where they were training to use the abilities, and then the last half of the movie actually could be a really fun set of things. That would have been awesome. I would have liked that. Because the other problem you have is I've actually looked at how Kano looks within the Mortal Kombat universe. And I'm going to show you what Kano looks like in the Mortal Kombat movie. Wait, what is this? Johnny Cage isn't in Mortal Kombat because of Kano, says screenwriter. To be fair, one of Mortal Kombat's fatalities believes they'll be back for a sequel. I hope they bring back Kano in the next movie. So, here is, So, here we go. Kano just, like, he has a scar. That's the extent of Kano. Like, he's best character, but, like... Yeah, this is as badass as you get Kano. And then there's Kano in the games. And it's like, this dude has, like, a fucking... Iron Man shit on his chest. He got like a steel eye. Like, look at this dude. He's a fucking badass. And the movie, it's just like, here's your discount Kano. It's like, he's got a belt that goes across his chest. That's about all. Same with, what's his name? This is, the guy with the metal arms. What's his name? Jax, that's it. Here we go. Here's Jax in the movie. Like, his arms aren't that bad. She's like, oh yeah. Well, okay, when he initially got the arms, like, they were like really weak arms. But like, here's his arms at that point. It's like, oh yeah, they're pretty cool. And then we have Jax in like the game. It's like, this dude's like got these massive fucking arms. Like, look at this dude. He looks way cooler in the games. I think a part of this movie that could have been done better. Here's how they could have improved it. Scrap the Arcana bullshit. Give them all their abilities from the start. And then, before they go and actually fight everyone, then you make them look like they're actually from the games. You give them their badass costumes. You give Jax his, like, absolute fucking god arms here. You give, you give Kano his, like, thing on his chest. And you give Sonya her, like... Actually, Sonya's probably the most boring looking character, to be honest. Sonya just, like, wears, like, an outfit. Yeah, here you go. Sonya's just, like, a chick with clothes on. So, her costume's fairly easy. instead of doing all that other bullshit, just make them look like they're from the games and like give them their badass costumes. That would be so much better. Because Scorpion, Raiden, and Sub-Zero, with I guess also some of the Outworld character, yeah, Scorpion and the Outworld characters. No, Scorpion, Raiden, and the Outworld characters. Yeah, there we go. Scorpion, Raiden, the Outworld characters all look like they were from the games. Scorpion especially. Scorpion was actually like, he looked pretty badass. Here we go. Mortal Kombat Scorpion. No, Scorpion movie. No, not the 95. Here we go. Here you go. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Also, yeah. Like, all of the scenes with Scorpion were just, like, pretty dope. And I think they not the 95 one. They got Scorpion looking pretty awesome. Scorpion game. Yeah, here we go. While they did, obviously, like, take a different approach with Scorpion, they still got him, like, you know, making sense for Scorpion. So the other Human World characters just looked really out of place next to them. That's how I kind of felt about it. But there's nothing to be done about the movie at this point. Maybe if they do a second one, they'll fix that costuming problem and actually make them, like, look badass. But it's not going to get a second movie. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, I think that's going to be pretty much everything for the podcast, because we're getting close to 6 o'clock, and I think that's probably a good time to end off the podcast. So I'm going to say, if you want to have a fun channel to go watch, go check out Jonathan Gustian, aka Fastest Clipper, who mainly clips... Okay, he's extended his clipping now. Jesus Christ, this dude just doesn't do anything besides watch VTubers and watch Connor. Anyway, this guy, if you want to see clips of streams that are literally happening right now, good channel to go for. And you'll see a bunch of, I guess there's some Sydney stuff in here as well, some Annie stuff, there's some Miyune, Connor, Iron Mouse, Nyanas, other people as well. Check this dude out, because he puts the effort in when it comes to clipping. So I think that's going to be pretty much everything for me. But before I go, I would like to thank my supporters. So let me bring up the list, because I didn't bring it up before. So a special thank you to Joachim, Donald, Michael, Andrew, Nathan, David, Will, Brandon, Chica, Bento, Jamie, Joseph, Mitchell, P.D., Stephen, Tony, Tushar, and all of my $2 supporters. You might think that I don't actually need the list and I just know it in my head. I just know the flow and I sort of forget the names in the list sometimes, so having the list there does still help out. If you would like to check out the main channel, that is Brodie Robertson, where I do Linuxy stuff. If you want to check out the gaming channel, that is Brodie Robertson Plays. I'm going to come up with a new name for it. I don't know what the name is, though. Maybe Brodie Plays Games or something. Just rip off Grey Still Play. Brodie Still Plays. I like that. Maybe. I'll come up with a new name for it. Besides that, for now, it is currently Brodie Robertson Games. Plays? Brodie Robertson Plays. Brodie Robertson Plays. If you are listening to the audio version, the video version is available on YouTube and Odyssey. If you are watching the video version, the audio version of this is available basically anywhere. And if you want to support my stuff, there are links in the description down below as well. I don't know if I'm going to have a guest on next week. Maybe. I'll decide then. I'll decide before then, so I can actually align. Schedule. So I can schedule a guest. Probably won't be, though. I'm actually thinking of trying out maybe just doing some solo ones for a couple of weeks and just seeing how it goes. I think that might be fun. I've sort of I've re-understood the fun of doing solo podcasts, because I can just talk about fucking anything. To my detriment, I can talk about anything, and I don't have to worry about having a conversation with someone. I feel like if you have a good guest, you can have a really good episode, but a bad guest, I feel like brings the episode down, because then I have to somehow bring a conversation into existence when I'm talking to a wall. Whereas when I'm just talking by myself, I don't have that wall there, and I sort of am already under the assumption that there's no one that's going to be responding to me, and I think it makes that a little bit easier. But anyway, for now, that's going to be everything for me, and I'm out. Maybe I should end a different way. I don't know. Yes.